In my research, newspapers were valuable because they've reported the dates and important criminal activity, even though, as I discovered, the actual facts of the cases may not have been reported properly. Every piece of information was analyzed, cross checked, and sorted out to become a piece of a puzzle and a piece of a very specific and precise timeline that Paul continually updated. Paul Novack kept coming up with new names and leads for the team to investigate. He was not only reviewing records of many agencies and from many sources, he was also out there finding people, conducting interviews, and following up on leads. The search for the truth about what happened to Danny and many, many digs into places, people, and events that had never been known before or really understood before we put things together. We searched each name and event and pooled our findings with Paul, leading the way. I personally followed every name and lead he provided, sent the shortened version out to the team to be verified, and in most cases, more leads came back from the individual members of the team. We were all on the same track. Meanwhile, Paul used his office and his home dining room as a war room to identify people and to dig into their roles and activities. Until we could see developments like a gigantic jigsaw puzzle. Paul worked on the case virtually every day. I don't know how he did it, but he visited various police departments, contacted state officials, people mentioned in various places that were still alive and active. He traveled to other states to find people, and he got records, and he obtained documents and reports that could not otherwise be found. And the team would constantly work on newly found information. And we would see where it would lead. The investigation was relentless. Paul had a unique skill in bringing this mission. An experienced litigation lawyer, a six-term mayor, never lost an election, a member of county and state boards and committees, and a completely honest and honorable person. Fearless, he had previously led investigations into waste and corruption at the county school district and about an out of state gambling operation that had set its sights on running its business from a regional public park, only in Florida. Needless to say, everything ended with Paul successful and the bad guys not so much. School board was exposed as having basically hidden $1 billion while school buildings were falling apart. So its spending was over or taken over by a state oversight committee, which corrected construction and land purchasing problems. Florida's governor put Paul onto that oversight committee. The gambling operation planning to take over public park and marina space. Paul dug into the whole deal, the dirty deal it was, and brought state officials in. The operation and its gambling boats were kicked out. We now took on a case, and as it turned out, was one of not only kidnapping, but also murder, corruption, and organized crime. We found that corruption was pervasive and worked to derail rather than solve Danny's case. It should have been done years ago. We had many, many obstacles to overcome. It was no coincidence that some of the people with personal knowledge had been killed or died under mysterious circumstances. It was no coincidence that some records and files were gone, stolen, missing. Who knows? Every obstacle that came up, we found a way to overcome. We discovered intimate relationships, get this now, between organized crime and local banks, court officials, and law enforcement officials. And believe it or not, at least 100 known criminals were living in the Miami area, including Surfside, with little or no investigation of them, let alone any understanding of their network and the extent of their operations. We found links between operations in Miami, Tampa, Chicago, New York, Cuba, and so many other places. It was important that Danny's case get solved. We did not want the crime to be forgotten, and we're glad that finding the truth has also answered other questions and unearthed other truths from the community. And our country deserves to know. This is historic, and the mystery has been solved in a historic way, and I am just so proud to have been a member. Thank you, Paul, for inviting me.